So let's take a look. One of the areas that the Browns will want to do, and you kind of alluded to it, they're going to want to get to the edge. What do you see here, and why can this be effective?
Well, there's two reasons. One is, obviously, it's hard to run inside. A lot of times they're going to cover both guards and the center. By doing that, you're going to take away the double teams the Browns like to use on their outside zone and their gap scheme. So they're going to be a lot of one-on-ones in there against some very good players. And even if they win, a lot of times it's just a stalemate. Those defensive tackles are really, really good. Now, by having 5 defensive linemen and those linebackers playing tight and usually having one safety, you do not get the run support from the safeties that you get from a lot of other teams. So if you can get to that D gap, a lot of times there's no one left. So this is right here is a great Ray McLeod with a big run for the 49ers last week. And when they had their success with him and McCaffrey was at D gap on jet sweeps, in and pulls. But C and D gap is where they had their success. Not a lot of success running it in the middle in that A and B gap versus those big guys.
So the other thing that you mentioned with that, with the 5-man front, just a one high safety, what does that allow? What do you think the Browns will look for because of that?
Well, the middle of the field is the place to attack, and what you get is you get those 5-down linemen down. So some of the stuff the Browns do with Njoku over the middle, with some of their dig routes with Cooper and DPJ, very, very accessible for the Browns. So here again, 5-man, we get a 4 or 5-man front, doesn't matter because they like to crowd the line of scrimmage. And what you're going to get here is you're going to get 5-man front, and you're going to get a little dig route, and you're going to see the outside linebacker, flat defender here. He's going to run with Kittle, and then the guy's just going to sit right in that hole. And again, not just the middle of the field, the whole second layer, so about 10 to 15 yards. Kittle from last week had 6 catches for 120 yards, just really hurt him in here. And the reason why is because they have less guys. They have 5 guys on the line of scrimmage. They're focused on stopping the run. With only 2 linebackers in there, it creates a lane. If you can get some over-unders, some separation routes, some curl flats, there's big windows in there, especially at the middle of the field.
The other thing is the 49ers run a Shanahan offense, so the Browns offense is very similar. When Deshaun Watson is right, that middle of the field is something that he usually attacks very, very well.
Yeah, they do a really good job with different types of high-lows, different types of dig routes, crossing routes. I'd like to see them with the weather use some, as the weather got back, I would like to see some more of those routes last week in the cold weather. Those are easier completions. The windows are pretty easy. With those 5 linemen down, if you can pass protect, those windows are usually pretty wide because there's only usually 2 backers in there. With one high safety, you get seam routes. Everything between the hashes is a very clear window for the quarterback, and especially for Watson kind of getting back in the flow here. I think over the middle is going to be very successful this weekend.